Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 354. This is your guide to the geek side, and I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra from beautiful Minnesota, joined by my semi-okay co-host, Charlie Chuckles Carden.
Now it went from I'm one of your hosts to my co-host basically sucks. Is that where we're going with this? Because I think I'll go back to the part where you just say it's your show and here's the clown.
Charlie, on Rotten Tomatoes, you are barely certified fresh.
Wow. Well, but you did say barely. It's not on the other side of 50%.
You're on the plus side. We're just waiting for a few more critics to come in the mix. But we are joined by a new guest joining us, a new secret friend, and that is Mr. Andrew Semicek. He is founder of We the Nerdy. He is a gamer, a comic lover, a wrestling fan, a Time Lord. He's spider powered and also Ghostbuster. Man, that's a pretty thick resume, Andrew. Welcome for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
That can't leave a lot of free time if you're crossing all those. Well, that's where the Time Lord part must come in.
Exactly.
Handy, right?
I can kind of go back in time, relive events, and also if you watch the latest version of Doctor Who, I can split myself into multiple timelines and kind of do all things at once.
Ooh, God, that's like whenever Superman gets a new power. Now he's solar powered or whatever.
Yeah, always Deus Ex Machina for Doctor Who.
Very good. I like
inspired by that Michael Keaton classic, Multiplicity.
Yes.
Right. Oh, I thought you were going to say it was inspired by true events, which is like my new favorite phrase for, because you can slap that in front of anything. And I said, Todd, our podcast is inspired by true events. Mm-hmm. Why not?
In a way it is. Yeah, everything is inspired by true events. Oh, well. So Andrew, we've kind of been in similar circles. I always call the podcast indieverse is kind of it's kind of multi-branched, intertwined, a little bit incestuous at times, but we all know each other in somewhere where it's like 6 degrees of, this instance, Sean Capri. So it's very fun to have someone that I know of that started a lot of people on their career to podcasting join us. And for you specifically, want to know your origin of how you became a geek.
Well, my origin specifically actually came from my uncle. He grew up collecting comic books, so kind of when I was old enough to read comics, like 4, I started reading them. He started showing me animated stuff like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. I fell in love with it and then kind of just fell out from there.
So do you have a specific favorite character in geek media?
Is it on the wall right there?
That's one of them. Like, I have a couple on the wall. So I've got, if you're talking geek media, you're talking with Spider-Man, of course, is my Marvel guy. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my independent, technically independent, and when they started kind of line. I have my Dragon Ball stuff up there. And if we're talking like DC too, I don't have it up here because there's hardly anything to get really. But like Swamp Thing is my favorite DC character next to.
Oh wow, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody invoke Swamp Thing as being like, "Man, I'm all about Swamp Thing." So that's awesome.
The craziest thing was I actually fell in love with him from the animated series that aired for that one season.
Oh my
90s.
God!
Right? Yeah. Right. Like that
the
was
extreme Swamp Thing.
I'm plenty fond of Swamp Thing from that movie from '82 and Adrian Barbeau's Rack, but that's just me. I was impressed. I was very impressionable when I was 6. So what do you want?
I saw that movie too, and I was like, "There's a lot of boob in this movie," and I'm like, 7-year-old me's like, "What's happening?"
We say a lot of boob, but a lot of boob is not too much boob because that doesn't exist. So. Right. And this is making Todd very uncomfortable. He doesn't like this.
No, it still might be the only. It might be the only DC mainstream hero that had boobs in it. There's not a lot of Marvel or DC hero movies with boobs in it. So there
Todd,
you go.
Doesn't that make it double DC?
It was funny too because we would go to the comic book store and I would tell my mom I want to get a Swamp Thing comic book, and she's like okay. She would look at it first. She's like, "What is this that you're reading?" And I'm like, "What? You don't see severed hands and half corpses?" And she's like, "You're 7," and I'm like, "What?
I'm not going to
Alan
go
Moore's
out
for the kids.
Yeah.
Alan
I'm not gonna-
Moore is
yeah.
for the kids.
I'm not going to go out and do it.
He's a giant plant creature. I mean, what do you want to say? I mean, really, you know, when's the line here? When we cross the line of reality in that?
It's a strange path that we walk when we talk about the Swamp Thing. But, you know, I like
Yes,
Blue Devil,
indeed.
too. And, you know, nobody says Blue Devil's their favorite DC character. So,
No doubt about it.
Yeah, so something also is odd is the comic we picked this week that mirrors the episode number that we're feeding, and that is Avengers 354, Fear the Reaper, part 3 of 3. So, of course, we missed the first 2 parts. Charlie's read this comic, and why I picked this cover is because it's the weirdest thing, because the Avengers are being cradled in a hand, but they have eyeballs on the fingertips, which I imagine has got to be the most uncomfortable thing in the world, because like, ow, 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 I'm poking my eye.
Yeah.
Right. And look at that beautiful shade of hazel. No, this was a wrap up where this incarnation of the Avengers, which is of course the leather jacket. We're just headed into the leather jackets era here. So this is prime 90s. They were slugging it out with the corpse of the Grim Reaper, who is a classic Avengers villain, brother of that's Eric Williams, who's the brother of Simon Williams, who's of course Wonder Man, though Wonder Man doesn't appear. But it all takes place in the underworld. They fight not reincarnated versions of dead heroes, but just like skull and bone versions of like, here's Man-Ape and here's, you know, the Crimson Dynamo or something. It's just like, it was weird. And at the end of it, it was a lot of splash panels. It was very 90s. And then the end of it, much like almost everything that happened in this run, it had no relevance whatsoever to anything that followed. Thank you, 90s Avengers. You did deliver upon your unspoken promise of valuelessness.
It's only as good as if they said at the end, it was just a dream.
Oh, but it was Bobby in the shower the whole time.
I was about to say, yeah, you walk in and you just see, you know, they see like Walt, and they're just, you know, hey, what am I doing? I'm just getting in the shower.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness, Bobby in the shower scene. Oh, but anyway, yeah, that was great. I was in high school then, and I was 16, I think, in October of 62. Oh, I'm really dating myself. In October of 92. So yeah, this was the kind of thing keeping lonely Charlie company on those lonely Friday nights when girls wouldn't date me.
Oh, poor Charlie.
I know, Purple Rain. So anyway, but one person who never has any trouble getting a date at all, that would be our gal, Madam Webb, our senior news correspondent. So we do now have to grab an Uber, get down to the corner of Hollywood and Vine to get the latest scoops with Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Oh, my goodness, Madam Webb. I hope you have all of your Christmas shopping done. I know you order them from Amazon Grime, which means it's just basically anything that fell off an Amazon Prime truck that you found outside of your alley. You gotta brush it off. Then you have to put it back in a sack, and then you give it to Andre, who then gives it to Michael, who gives it to Sancho. Then that gives it to Andre, his brother, and then you give it to Miles Davis's ghost, then again gets it to all your gift recipients and all your jilted lovers that you just want to tell them how much you don't like them. So after that, I think it's about a 3-week turnaround. So just past Christmas.
Amazon Grime. It's the grimiest. It's worth every nickel. Oh, so up first, we have a potential redemption for what basically is a movie franchise that I think is kind of driven off a cliff. We have it's funny, even in the trailer, it says it's the Wizarding World. The Wizarding World. This would be the Fantastic Beasts. This is the third film. The Secrets of Dumbledore. Trailer dropped today or maybe yesterday. So our Dumbledore is the Jude Law. We also have the return of Todd's favorite actor, mumbling actor Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander. Dan Fogler, who I love, returns. And who else we got? We got weirdo Ezra Miller, who grew his hair out. Todd, who else is in the cast of this? It's jumping.
Mads Mikkelsen is basically the big
Right.
casting because he replaced Johnny Depp, which I'm assuming they'll say because he can shapeshift or face change or do glamours that this is maybe his real appearance.
Right.
But yeah, he's in this. And wowie wow, apparently another character, basically he paired Kevin Guthrie, who played Abernathy, was a follower of Grindelwald. He basically was sentenced to prison for sexual assault. So we've got a lot of people that are no longer associated with this movie series because of some weird things in the background. But I will tell you, this is really going to be Dumbledore is really taking a front and center role in this movie. I felt like he was the main focus along with some other characters. And I felt like this movie series has always been too tied to one plot line that's where the Harry Potter movies did a better job of just kind of telling individual stories, but looping and everything else. So it seems like maybe that's where this is going in this episode. I don't know if this is the end, if this is the end of the trilogy of this one or not, but I liked where this feels to be going. And I'm pretty happy. I don't know if every character will be returning, but I like what this is doing. Obviously, there's still a lot of stench on Harry Potter as a whole because of J.K. Rowling's, and I hope WB just buys her out eventually so we can just focus on the franchise and not her. But after I saw this trailer, I was pretty encouraged that I wasn't going to be bored to death or not care about this series anymore.
Right,
so I
agree. That's where I'm at too. I was watching this and I'm like, they got a little spin on this ball. This thing looked like it could have some legs. Yeah, I remember those first two. It's just like, okay. I mean, maybe it was filled with a lot of deep cuts, like, the suitcase and the this and the that and the blah blah blah, and it's just I couldn't even give you 5 plot elements that happened over 2 movies. It's that unremarkable to me. But yeah, this looks to have a little bit of juice, which you've really got to have, particularly in a trailer. You've really got to have to catch the attention. So yeah, I'm enthused. I like it.
So Andrew, after watching this, I'm not sure your background with Harry Potter or this new series, but is this something you're excited for?
That's always reaches for a prop.
Got one.
There's a chuckle and reaches for a prop.
I do. I've got 3 ones, but I went for the coolest one. So my wife is an avid fan of the Harry Potter franchise, so I've kind of been there the whole time. If she looks at me, she looking at me right now, being like, "You lying sack." No,
I conjured a cat. You know that I'm into the world.
Yeah. No. So we've seen the movies, we've read the books. I think that for the new trailer, I think it definitely feels more focused. I think having Dumbledore as the main focus of the movie, I think, is going to bring more people in, more so than the first 2 movies did, just because I think that, kind of exploring the outside world of Hogwarts is kind of neat, but like you said, there really wasn't a direction towards what was going on, or kind of, you have these other characters at play, but nobody really is attached to them besides like Newt Scamander, who, Eddie Redmayne, I still would say would be a great Doctor if he ever would be on Doctor Who, but other than that, like, that's really what I felt this movie was kind of more like Harry Potter presents Doctor Who as a zookeeper, more so than anything. And it kind of like, now they're pulling it out. I'm more on board for that, and kind of hoping to see that there is more of a focus. And I think there's still two more movies after this too that they planned.
Oh wow!
Jeez. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay.
Because back to that point, Harry Potter was still a license to print money, so they were like, oh, we'll do 5 movies. But if that's the case, and this is still like the 3rd movie in this 5 movie whatever it is, I hope that it at least gives us enough momentum to go to those next 2 movies, or if they do kind of cut it early, do something else with the series too, because I still think there's a lot of lore to be delved with in Harry Potter, but I don't necessarily know if the movies are the best way to do it.
That's a good point. We haven't gotten a Harry Potter series yet on HBO Max, which might be a better way to tell those deeper stories, develop characters, and do things like that.
They always are. I mean, in anything that can be evidence with, certainly The Mandalorian and moving forward, and other things that have made the jump, shows that is where your opportunity to grow the world, as opposed to the 2-hour spectacle. Though there certainly could be room for both, but it would have to be executed. But then again, with Star Wars, there isn't room for both right now because we don't have a movie on the slate. So we sort of do, because we talked about it in a Holocron Chronicles, our Star Wars show, that Rogue Squadron may not be completely dead. So that's one movie for the next 5 years.
I'm still surprised that Harry Potter hasn't divulged into comic books. Like, I'm surprised there hasn't been like.
Oh yeah, there
novels
hasn't
and
been
all
no
that
graphic
stuff.
novels. No.
Right.
There's so many other characters just from the core 7 books that you could have like graphic novels on.
Right. Spin-offs. Right.
Yeah, like have the Voldemort style Darth Vader line. Like I would love to see
Right.
more of that. How he grew into that character.
Right.
Outside of just the movies and those little snippets they show, and even in the book, kind of how those little chapters and kind of pages of it. Like give me the full, like give me a 6-issue series of just how Voldemort was created, how he went from, you know, this child who was delving into the dark arts to this nasty monster of a person.
As long as he doesn't hate sand, I think we'll be okay. Sorry, deep cut back to Anakin and Tatooine. Oh well, yeah. So more to come on this, and hopefully this does well and redeems the series and gets us all engaged. Next story, though, this one's a new one that just kind of came out of nowhere. The CW is developing a Gotham Knights TV series. We do know we're getting a Gotham Knights video game, which is just Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and it's kind of that series. But this is completely different. This is setting up the fact that we are getting Batman's son, who would be Damian Wayne, who we know is Tasha Al Ghul. Basically, this is the son of Ra's al Ghul. We're getting him.
Talia, you called her Tasha. Come on now.
Tasha, sorry. Talia Al Ghul, sorry. Yes, yeah. Hoist me by my own petard. I was
actually.
Thank you for that, Charlie. But basically, it's going to follow the premise says in the wake of Bruce Wayne's murder, his rebellious son, adopted son, forges and adopted now. This could be not Damien. This could be one of his wards. Could be one of the Robins. Forges an unlikely alliance with the children of Batman's enemies when they are all framed for killing the Cape Crusader. As the city's most wanted criminals, this renegade band of misfits must fight to clear their names. But in Gotham, with no Dark Knight to protect it, the city stands into the most dangerous it's ever been. However, hope comes from the most unexpected places as this team of mismatched fugitives become its next generation of saviors. So this is kind of uncharted territory because I wasn't aware of a lot of villains having kids. That's interesting. And then that's probably a whodunit with who killed Bruce Wayne. Is he truly dead? We never know. Is there going to be a resurrection pit, basis that type of storyline? We don't know, but this could be a lot of fun. And
it sounds excellent. It's kind of unprecedented as far as it's not necessarily aping an existing like Elseworld storyline or anything like that. Sure. They really said, I mean, you tell me. I mean, you know DC more than I do. But I've never heard of anything like this. So this is different. I'm assuming this is going to, if it's the kids of villains, I assume it's going to, push things a little bit more into like a Dark Knight Returns kind of timeline. So it's, Batman 10 or 20, like it's a Batfleck, where he's an older dude and stuff, and he moves a little too slowly, so he gets whacked, and then no, it doesn't say. You said, it doesn't say anything about it being his adopted son, so it could be Damian.
No, it does. No, it does. It does in the tagline. So official logline, his adopted son. So this could be one of his wards. So it could be Jason Todd. It could be blanking on his name. Tim Drake. Tim Drake, It could have been one, several others have come along since then. So I'll be curious to see where this goes. And since it's not adopted, Damian was not adopted. That's his seed. So we shall see. And I think the CW is kind of in this new resurgence of new characters with Stargirl, which I really liked. We had Batwoman, which I think is a little bit of a mix of the old and new. But we have Naomi coming as well. So I'm hoping we're going to get more fresh blood. And I think this is part of that. Stargirl is young. This is going to be a young crew of characters along with Naomi. So maybe this is the fresh restart the CW is needed. So with that, Andrew, I mean, does this sound entertaining to you?
Yeah, so long as they don't do like the 90s show Birds of Prey style with it.
Oh my God! Oh,
there's your deep
Batcat.
Hopefully it's a lot better than that. I mean, honestly, my second favorite DC character is Jason Todd. So if this is focused on him, or they have him in there and not let the guy who's playing him on Titans right now be in that role, because I'm not a big fan of that. But if they can bring that in or bring it more of like a Bat family scenario, I'm all on board.
Bat fam, hashtag Bat fam.
Good deal. So this is probably if it's not late 2022, this will probably be 2023. So we'll hear more about this. We'll see the cast. We'll see how this plays out.
I will for sure tune in. I do dabble in CW. The wife and I really enjoyed Superman and Lois, which I think it came back, or maybe we probably should tune back in. But yeah, we really enjoyed that. So cool. Yeah, I'm all about this. This is awesome.
Very, very cool. Well, next story is very interesting because we have a creator we really enjoy, but he is not known for doing a lot of, he's known for covers these days. He doesn't do a lot of internal pages, a lot of illustration that way. And when he does it, he typically does painted artwork. But Alex Ross is coming back and he's doing a new graphic novel called Fantastic Four Full Circle. Woo! And it is going to be fully illustrated by Alex Ross and written by him as well. But the interesting part is it will not be painted. So this is kind of looking at his artwork in a less glossy fashion. He may still use human models to do some of the work, which he's known for. But this is a way to do something different. And it's 64 pages, $25. And it's basically say it's a rainy night in Manhattan and not a creature stirring except for Ben Grimm. When an intruder suddenly appears inside the Baxter building, they find themselves surrounded by a swarm of invading parasites.
Ouch! I hate that.
They go into and Charlie, they have to go into the negative zone. So this could be interesting.
And the format itself is interesting. Well, you got a couple of things I think it's spinning here that are interesting. Is you've obviously got Alex Ross returning for a pencil project, which I don't know that I can think of anything else he's done, and maybe I'm just not that steeped in his work. But Todd, you know that my den, for example, is almost all the frame comics are from Alex Ross's. I want to say timeline series that he published last year, just the white covers with characters painted as they appeared in the 70s and 80s. So it's, vintage Fantastic Four, it's vintage Avengers and all this different stuff. So I've been a fan of his since Marvel, since I was in high school. But that's interesting. But also this prestige format with the hardback 64 page, $25. I don't remember a time that we've had one of these at all. And again, maybe I'm just not keeping up. I do have some of those super old graphic novels. I think I might have Emperor Doom somewhere. I think I have the one the Night of the Living Monolith one, and just some kind of weird ones that they published in the 80s. But those are soft covers, but they certainly don't touch the fanciness of this. So this is compelling. And again, I just read comics digitally, but this just seems like it would just really be something to see and to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a self-contained story, which I would say back in the 80s and early 90s, Marvel did more of these type of things. It was more of the prestige format when you did something like in a graphic novel, which was just versus a collected trade paperback. It was truly a prestige story that was treated differently and was in a more expensive format. So I think they used to do this. We just don't see many of these now these days, which I think is really cool. Graphic novels really was supposed to meant it was a one-shot story versus just a trade paperback of collected issues. So it's a little different. It's in more of a prestige format. So I like this. It's really cool. And what I think I like when I look at the artwork with this is included here, I always thought Alex Ross at times just a little too shiny. It doesn't look like real people. It looks more like plasticky. This with it looks a little bit more realistic, which I think is if you're going to do a graphic novel. But I do love Marvels. I do love Kingdom Come. I love those books, Uncle Sam for Vertigo. So yeah, so he does some great stuff in his covers, of course. So so Andrew, I don't know if you still dip into comics, but is this something that is would get you interested?
Definitely. I mean, I've always been an Alex Ross fan. I mean, the guy is one of the biggest icons in comic cover history. I mean, comic artists in general, too. Fantastic Four really doesn't... I've never been super interested in Fantastic Four, but kind of seeing the story concept and being a single kind of deluxe issue, I definitely would jump into it for sure, kind of just to see what it is and maybe have it as a collector's item later on, too, especially Alex Ross is getting older, and you don't see many of these kind of coming out from him other than like a specific cover or maybe one or two issues that he actually draws on, but this might be something that's worth owning.
Yeah, right. I mean, and this is coming out in August, so this is like actually something you probably put on your wish list and say, loved ones, there's something I would like, please get it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, loved ones.
Yeah, so coming, check it out, guys. I think this could be really interesting, and I like to see more of this with these great art teams and great writers to see them do really cool stories that they don't have to worry about. Are they going to be behind deadline? Does thing get delayed? Nope, it's just one story pick up now, and you've got it. So there we go. Next story, though, is interesting, and the fact that we are getting a new take on Buffy, and it is called In Every Generation. This is actually a YA novel, which YA novels with like actual like. I know DC is doing this with like Beast and Raven and some of those characters where it's really capturing that a different audience to bring them into heritage franchises. And so we're getting this. Basically, it's a sequel to Buffy the Vampire Slayer where we have a new Slayer coming out, and it is actually a witch, and it happens to be Frankie Rosenberg, the daughter of Willow. And it's very cool, and it's being done by Disney Publishing Worldwide because they own Buffy the Vampire Slayer because it's part of the Fox empire. We've got teen werewolf Jake. It's Oz's cousin. Younger brother of the cousin who bit Oz. So we have a werewolf there. And let's see, do we have any other characters returning in this? Spike is also going to be involved, and Oz, who apparently has a little bit of Xander coming in. And I'm looking at, and it's great. I'm looking at the cover right now. It says In Every Generation, and below that the tagline is the stakes have never been higher. Stakes like a vampire.
They said the thing that was with the thing. Very clever.
No Angel? Come on.
That could probably be a thing where it could be a thing.
I just said that. Come on now.
They don't want to probably give away too much, but it's one of my heritage series that I love. Love the series. Loved like Angel. I'm behind on the comics that followed as official sequels. They've changed ownership now. I think it's with a different publisher now. Mm-hmm. But this has got me excited. And it's a novel, which I don't think there's really been like great Buffy novels. There's been, I think, novelizations and things like that. So this could be really cool. It's probably like $25 in hardcover, but probably $15 in paperback. And I'm looking for a date when this will come out. And I'm digging. I don't see it.
I know. So much preparedness. We really work hard. For you, dude.
I try. It's a long article, so it's probably bothered. So we will see when this comes out, but I will put this on my said wish list. So I know this is coming. Buffy's not for everybody, but Charlie, I don't think you care at all. You watched a few episodes of Buffy, but Andrew, is Buffy any interest of you?
Yeah, I mean, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer growing up. I did lean more on the Angel side once he kind of got his own spin-off series, but I've always kind of liked how Josh Whedon kind of expanded the series into the Dark Horse, and then, like you said, they did change ownership to IDW, so they kind of been, they kind of got rid of some of the canon that was established with the Dark Horse series. I am kind of curious to see where they go with a Next Generation. I think that's kind of been proposed before, I think, in some of the comic books, but I'm kind of curious to see how they approach that more so with this new generation, kind of see what other characters, if they kind of do more of like a Force Awakens type of thing where they bring some of those old characters back in as more of the, oh, look, hey, we're here and we're here to help you guys out more so than, oh, we're all starting from scratch. So, I'm always up for more Buffy. More Buffy is always better. Better Buffy.
Yeah, exactly. Bring the heritage characters off to either kill them off or make them turned or something unique. And then there was an actual sequel in the far future sequel called Frey of Buffy, where it was basically a Slayer in the far future. That was a lot of fun, but that obviously was a limited option. So maybe this will be more and more Buffy series. So for Buffy fans, the Scoobies, they are back again. Last news piece, though, this came out of the Game Awards, and we are getting, obviously we knew Sonic 2 was getting a release in 2022, and we didn't know when we'd see a trailer, and we got it. It was very funny, Charlie. I know you didn't probably watch the Game Awards, but when they announced it, they brought in the voice of Sonic, our good friend,
Mr. Schwartzman, Ben Schwartzman.
That's correct. And they also had Jim Carrey doing the weirdest intro in the world. I don't think he was even understanding what he was supposed to talk about. Oh boy. But he did something very weird. And then we got the trailer. Very weird. It just, I would say watch the intro because it's like Jim Carrey doing his own thing, and I'm glad he didn't phone it in because he definitely didn't. So yeah, we got the trailer, and yeah, I mean, we've got Dr. Robotnik back, Jim Carrey full on mustachioed. Sonic is trying to be a hero, but the cool part, we've got Idris Elba being Idris Elba as Knuckles, and it looks cool. Tails is back, the original voice actress since 2014 is doing Tails. This looks like a lot of fun. So, Andrew, being you are a gamer, what did you think of the first Sonic movie, and what do you think of this trailer?
The first Sonic movie I thought it had its moments. It definitely was a better movie than the original trailer with the other Sonic perceived to be.
Right.
I am super excited for Sonic 2 because it looks like it's more towards what I think the animated series have been, and more of like the Archie comics used to go to, where it's expanding the lore, but it's also kind of keeping true to what the game is. Because you said the plane scene alone, with Sonic kind of just sitting on top of the plane with Tails, that to me echoed Sonic the Hedgehog 2 so much. And I'm just so excited. And that moment where Sonic's like, "You're not going to get my power," and you just see Knuckles that first time he goes, "I don't need your power." I got chills from that. Like, I was just super excited because this Idris Elba is just. Whew. Secondly, just kind of seeing that true, authentic, what I would perceive a CGI version of Knuckles to be was represented there. And then you have Robotnik coming in being like, "Oh, I have my own little super nugget person," or whatever you want to call him, popping in. Like, I am super hyped. I'm hoping to see more of that, and like not Biggs the cat. Like, let's keep it to these characters, and maybe Amy if they want to bring her in. But like, let's keep it to these three central characters and Robotnik or Eggman, whichever one you would call it, whatever you grew up, to each his own. But that's what I'm hoping for it, and it looks fantastic.
It comes out April 8th, and I know, Charlie, you were a fan of it.
Yes,
your son is a big
sure.
fan of Sonic.
Big time. Very big time.
Logan and I saw it. We enjoyed it. So it's the rare exception that it kind of hits a lot of different quadrants.
Right. Yes, it is. And with video game movies, obviously not being an aficionado, I would expect hitting the quadrants is probably what's the most elusive and what keeps video game movies from really taking off. So this one really seemed to buck that trend, and that's awesome.
Yeah, so
I think
a good 2022 is hopefully going to be a good year for movies, and this is going to be one of the big ones in the spring. So there you go. Well, that is it for the news this week. We had a lot of stories, a lot of fun things, a lot of cool things to look forward to. So hopefully, if you're interested in these stories, or if we missed something about these stories, let us know on the Twitters, and we'll tell you how to get us that at the end of this show. So, Charlie, I think it's now time for us to take our leave with Madam Web. Minimum, and for us to go over to our favorite geek establishment to get our libations on and some recreation at the Geek Easy.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, the cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. Yes. Cheers, mates. So this is basically what we've been watching or reading. So, Andrew, anything exciting on the television, the movie screen, or in the page?
Page-wise, I've been reading the Spider-Man Beyond series. I'm actually Ben Reilly's my favorite iteration of Spider-Man. Believe it or not. So seeing him back as the main Spider-Man with the suit, absolutely in love with it. Not necessarily happy with what they did with Peter in terms of the radiation poisoning. I think that's a little bit of a weird trope. But no, I'm enjoying it. I'm also excited to kind of see what they're doing with Ben Reilly moving forward, because I hope that it's not like they did with the 90s, where they kind of had him in there for a year, gave him the Spider Carnage gimmick for a little bit, and then kind of they killed him off. I don't want to see that. Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly Spider-Man, he's my guy. Other than that, I've been kind of I haven't watched a lot of TV shows lately. I want to get back into watching Hawkeye. Especially with Far From Home coming out, or No Way Home. No Way Home coming out Friday. Apparently, there's
some kind of home.
Yeah, there's some kind of home. Always a home.
Sweet Home Alabama. There you go.
Exactly.
We didn't go homeless yet.
No.
Yes, Spider Homeless.
Oh God, I'm waiting for that'll be like the 6th movie in that series. But I have been heavily into reading the Stormlight Chronicles from Brandon Sanderson.
Oh yeah, Brandon Sanderson. My son is a huge fan of him. I've wanted to get into it. Those books are so huge.
Yeah. So my friends have been begging me for the last 3 years to jump into them. So I jumped into the Dune Saga last year. I read all 8 of those books, or listened to all those books. But I was like, okay, after that, I'm going to go into the Sanderson verse. I jumped in with Mistborn. I read and listened to all 6 of those books. Then I jumped into the Stormlight ones now, and I'm on the 3rd book. And my God, it is magnifique.
It's good to hear. I'm a fantasy head, and I've been looking for a new series to get into, so I may have to dig into that.
Yeah,
Todd,
honestly,
Todd Reading. That's like
I know.
yeah.
Well, I need to do the audiobook because I do fall asleep when I
I
start
do.
reading.
I do. I have pretty much exclusively switched over to audiobooks for that reason. So yeah.
I'm for the most part audiobooks now too. Honestly too, because I know a couple of my friends do the graphic audio where it's like a movie, but it for the
Oh, really?
Sanderson, yeah, like it's cool because they have like the whole audio effects. They have the different voice actors for each character. But the problem is that with a lot of the Sanderson books, the book I'm reading right now, it's the what is it, Oathbringer. That's almost 60 hours just audiobook form.
Holy cow!
Right. So
that's a lot.
And Audible likes to, and the graphic audios, they like to put them into different chunks. So each chunk is like a part of the book. So that for me, like I listened to Warbreaker like that, which is a spin-off series of sorts for that series. And that was 3 credits on its own just to listen to that for one book.
Boy.
I'm like, no, that's
Wow.
I'm not doing that anymore.
That's
It's pricey, yeah.
Yeah, right. Big
But
time.
it's just like it's the way that he builds characters from like if you like comic books, I would definitely suggest the Mistborn series. It's very much a comic-ish kind of like origin story, kind of, very much. I would definitely recommend jumping in that way, and then kind of like because I've had my friends who they've been like Sandersonites or Sanders, whatever you want to call them. They were ones to kind of be like, hey, look, start with this, and then once you get your teeth into this, go into the Stormlight stuff because the Stormlight stuff it's a meaty universe, but you kind of want to get your
dense.
Dense, meaty. But yeah, Mistborn's kind of like they're phenomenal books. They're still, I think, my favorite ones in the Sanderson books that I've read so far or listened to, whichever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But they are the ones like basically like you have like it's a very comic power universe, and they kind of to sum it up real quick. They have these mystical elements that all revolve around metals. So you have to ingest a specific metal and you get a specific power associated to that metal. So like one metal can let you pull, one metal can let you push, etc. But you have to have these specific metals in your body and you have to be able to burn them. But it's kind of just like this whole, and you have to kind of discover the powers and all that stuff. But it's very much like a coming of age story as well with that superhero background. But it's very well written, very, very well worth your time.
Very cool. I will check it out. My son, like I said, read another series that he loved by him. So I recommend, and I know he took over the Wheel of Time series too. So he's a great author, and I just need to get into his stuff. So enough people have told me, so it's now my time to do so. So I think audiobook will be the way to go. So it's too late for Christmas, maybe. I'll put it on my Christmas list. Maybe my mom will buy it for me, maybe not. Oh, well, we'll see where it goes. Well, thank you for that, Andrew. Charlie, you saw a movie?
I did
movie?
A new. It's what's old is new again. So yeah, Spielberg put out a version of West Side Story, and it was funny because April and I saw this last night. We were driving home, and I'm like, or we were walking in to the theater. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've never actually seen that movie. Of course, a lot of the songs have been spoofed and riffed and remade. And April was walking out and said some of those songs were definitely in An American Tail, the kids animated movie, like this and that. So like a lot of it was familiar, but I didn't really know the gist of the story. They had an amazing young lady as Maria, who is the female lead. But then they had Ansel Englehort, who is Baby Driver as Tony, the male lead. Yeah. And he's a terrible singer. Jesus Christ. I mean, overdubbed the guy, for Christ's sakes. It was really bad. I mean, and not like, I mean, I've been a singer my whole life and I'm not great, but I'm also a big music junkie, and I know when somebody sounds great, and I'd like to think I know when somebody really doesn't. So, but otherwise, very well made in the Spielbergian style, as it were. But this movie is turning out to be kind of a box office flop, if I'm not mistaken. I've been following some of the information, so it's a shame. It is long, super long, 2 hours and 45 minutes long, like Endgame long. But I didn't think it really dragged. So I would encourage people to go out and see it. It is kind of great on the big screen. Again, Todd, I know you love musicals, people who just start dancing and singing for no reason. That's kind of where you live, even though you neither dance nor sing, but I know that you enjoy it. So I think that you would enjoy this one.
I've seen the original many times. It was actually an assignment. We actually, it's akin to Romeo and Juliet. That's really what this is, but it's New York. Yeah. And right. What's cooler than gangs? Dancing, snapping, and fighting.
Dancing, the sharks.
Dancing, exactly. Snapping, and fighting. And then I like Andrew, I'm flipping my wig. I'm blowing my wicket over Leo Spiderman and his No Way Home, Side to Home, Old Folks Home. This movie that's coming out. Seeing it on Thursday after work. My first week at a new job too, by the way. So I'm kind of fired up about that. So I'm having fun. But yeah, super fired up about this. And Todd, you chuckle, but I did drop an article in our discussion group on Facebook. But this movie's currently pulling 100% RT.
Yes, I'm so happy.
Which I'm sure will fall right off as long as somebody gets in and says, "Well, I don't think," and then it'll fall.
Well, I always say about this Rotten Tomato, it could be the mildest positive, could make the best Rotten Tomato score in the world. I always say, look at Metacritic, see where it goes, because they actually break down each score and then give you a more cumulative. So that's more like, I think it was like 74%. So, but yeah, everybody's saying that it seems like if you're a fan of this movie, it sounds like you're going to be very happy.
Yeah, regardless, I think that anybody who would have any inclination to see this is going to see it. They'll probably do it right away because this movie has definitely been set up to contain a lot of surprises. A la the other two Spider-Men showing up, Toby and Andrew possibly popping out of a portal somewhere and then Spider-Maning up with Loose Lips Tom Holland. So very fired up. Definitely look forward to that. And then
Stay off Twitter, Charlie. Stay off Twitter, Andrew.
Don't
spoil yourself, Charlie.
I'm not, like I said, I'm seeing it Thursday, like first available showing. So, but yes, I do know that critics have seen it.
My mom is going to be at the theater before you show up, and she's going to spoil
No, she's not allowed over here. She's got to stay on her side of the state. No, sorry, Mama Ox, can't do it. And then just real quickly, Hawkeye and Star Trek Discovery are still our morning viewing on Wednesday, which I'll be watching in the morning. Discovery is on Thursday. Discovery is kind of lagging. We're getting some personal stories. We're kind of Todd, how caught up are you?
I like I said, I'm just still at 2, and I could kind of see this. I've heard some resonance about this season feeling a little bit.
Well, yeah, you got there's a focus on the character of Tilly, who to me has become kind of tedious. And there was potentially some resolution to her storyline in this most recent episode. I won't touch on that.
Okay.
Hawkeye, for me, and I know that our friend John, who we were with the C2E2, finally watched it, said that it is enjoyable but predictable. Potentially, this last week, Todd, I assume you watched it this past week.
Mm-hmm.
We finally caught up with the teaser from the end of Black Widow, where Yelena shows up. She is, of course, under the misconception that Clint.
So wait, Andrew, are you caught up?
I'm not caught up, but go ahead and spoil it for me because I've already know most of it.
So we'll talk more about this next week, Charlie. We'll talk about 4 and 5 next week.
Well, I said, Andrew. Obviously, what I was discussing was the stinger from Black Widow,
right?
So yeah, I'm not spoiling him.
I know about the other, Netflix person that might be showing up later on.
That and that is a rumor that we might see in this week's episode, or obviously, I mean, we're on episode 5 of 6 this week, so this thing will be over before Christmas. So that could be that big to do, but anyway, yeah. So that's what I'm excited about. And Todd, on to you, because you and I are actually going to share a couple here. But why don't you talk about the thing that you like that I'm still kind of like, I'm just not sold yet. So,
oh my goodness! I realized the Expanse season 6 episode 1 was launched on Friday. Obviously, it was at C2E2, didn't get to watch it, so it was on the treadmill. I'm like, I'm gonna watch that, and oh my goodness, this is the end. This is the last season, and it's only 6 episodes long. So they've got a lot of heavy lifting, dude, to wrap up this storyline. But man, oh man, we are going places. So I'm very excited about this. They do touch upon a character who was killed off because, unfortunately, his real life events caused him to be fired from the show. They don't ignore it, but they do touch on it a little bit. I'm very curious to see what they do in the next 5 episodes. But man, oh man, this show is so well done. Just makes me so excited for properties I didn't even know about 3 years ago that I'm just really excited about again. So new IP is really what drives things forward versus the same things repeating and washing. That I always like finding something new that just drives me exciting, like The Witcher. I didn't know about Witcher until the video game series came out and realized it's actually a series of books, and that's coming out this Friday. So I'm just like in heaven. The end of December, man. There's just too much heavy lifting in regards to keeping up to speed on all the things I want to watch. So I've got to start really getting in there and dedicate, this is what I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch this. So very excited that Expanse is coming out. And the good thing is it's only one episode dropping a week, so I'm not behind. But then The Witcher drops and all the episodes drop on Friday. So Charlie,
that doesn't help. That doesn't help. But Todd, you have got to explain how you even found this next one, because you showed this to John and me in Chicago, and it was just all over.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of weird things that pop up out of the blue. This one kind of came on my radar because there's a bunch of British geek people that are making cool stuff right now. You've got What They Do in the Shadows. You've got the Wellington Paranormal Society. You've obviously had weird things like Doctor Who, Red Dwarf. Well, this new series, it's not an old series. It's from 2004, and it was a one season, one and done, and it's called Garth Merenghi's Dark Place. This is essentially a lot of the goofy British people you've seen, Laszlo from What They Do in the Shadows is in this.
Yeah, Matt Berry and Richard Ayoade
from IT Crowd.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, right.
And then we've got some people that show up also. I believe is it Richard Merchant from the original Office and a bunch of other different shows is in this as well as a guest appearance. But this is basically a writer called Garth Merenghi, who has the ego the size of a planet, who had a series that he produced and filmed about this hospital that is also a portal to hell, that it was created and then shelved. But then apparently there was an opening, and then he was able to bring the series back. And it's a pseudo documentary that opens up every episode, and they talk about the making of it. But it's just so damn goofy and weird and low rent, but intended to be low rent, that they basically, this doctor, he basically is just does these wacky things with the paranormal and aliens, and the cast, the editing is bad, but it's intentional. They have bad special effects, and the writing is, though, hilarious. So I'm a big fan of this show. I've only watched 3 episodes. Charlie, I think you said you've watched all but the one we skipped.
I did. I was watched 6 and I jumped back to 3, so I will have watched it all. So it's just, from the very first, and this was what you and John and I were sitting there in the hotel just splitting sides. The very first scene is you see the doctor woman, Liz, walk in, and she walks down a hall, and she's looking, you can see her looking through a door. And she sticks her hand out and somebody tosses a cat out and it goes blop, and then it zooms in on the cat and says, "You should just leave," in a voiceover, and the kid's like, "Did that cat just tell me to leave?" And it's just the John just says, "Oh my God, they don't care. They're just going for it." And that's the whole show. It's balls to the wall, just absurd, which I tried to sit down and watch with April. She's like, "I can't watch absurd shit like this. This is not for me." But we were just chuckling. We were having a good time watching. It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, they've got weird editing, voiceovers when they're overdubbing and things like that. And you found out the one guy who's been brought as a producer, apparently he can't be seen looking at a character, and that's what he's asked for. So anytime he's talking, he's looking away from the character. It's just very weird. It's really well. It's somebody's vision for this thing is so well done because it's so horribly off, but it's all tied into the main character, Garth Merenghi. So I recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime right now if you watch. It's 6 episodes, so it's well worth your time if you like wacky, weird genre comedy. So, and don't blame us if you hate it. Just watch a trailer. You'll know if you're into it or not.
Right. Exactly correct. It's okay. We didn't do it. It's not us.
Yeah.
It's not us.
Imagine that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I think you'd get a kick out of it because it's got that kitsch and fun and goofy, and the writing is really spot on in regards to what the characters are saying. So it's a well written geeky comedy show. Then lastly, Charlie and I went to C2E2. The last time we went to C2E2, which is Chicago or Comics and Entertainment Chicago Exposition, I believe.
Is it? Yeah. Oh my God! It's C2E2. Yeah, there you go. Sounds great.
Yeah, it's Chicago's biggest con. Last time we went to it was in March 2020, just before everything shut down.
Right.
We got to do this, and then it came back in December 10th through the 12th. So we got to do that. Our friend John, who is an original Secret friend, he traveled from Washington. We were all college roommates. It was a great time to come back. It was all, you had to be vaccinated, show your ID, wear masks. We had a great time doing this. And one guest we wanted to see that was going to be there canceled, Ming-Na Wen, who is obviously in so many geeky things. She was Mulan. She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She is now in The Mandalorian. She's been in so many things. She's a great actress, looks fantastic. She wasn't there. So the only thing left we wanted to do was see Timothy Zahn. And he did a panel. And Timothy Zahn is the foremost expanded universe Star Wars writer, created the character of Thrawn, Mara Jade, and a few others. And he's basically had a resurgence of where Disney has basically embraced a lot of his creations and is allowing to still create these characters and bringing them into the Marvel cinema or the Star Wars universe, which is great. So we had a great time. His panel was awesome. He did a little spin-off about where he's doing where things are at. He couldn't say much, but then he did all questions. We had some goofy questions, but Charlie got to ask a question. Charlie, what was your question to Mr. Zahn?
Well, it's funny because you kind of turn around and spun it into what we're going to talk about in the last segment. But yeah, I walked up to the guy and to the microphone. Of course, I said who I was, where I was from, and I plugged Secret Friends because that's my job. But I came out and said, hey, you tipped off this conversation talking about the Lucasfilm Continuity Group and how when, that was formed after the Disney takeover in 2014, that the vast majority of all written material was shelved or it was transitioned into this Legends format. I said, and that includes obviously your works at the time. Of those characters from those novels that you wrote, who are the characters that you are looking that you would really be looking forward to have reintroduced into canon and to become part of the official storyline? And he spun it from there. I thought it was a brilliant question. Good job, Charlie.
Allow myself to introduce myself. Allow myself to congratulate myself. Yes,
exactly. But yeah, no, that was fun. And then at the end of it, when the panel broke up, I went up there and I provided him with the great Secret Friends Unite postcards that Todd had printed up. And I have a personal business card with my SFU information on it. It said, please get in touch. So I'm sure, Todd, that Timothy Zahn will be contacting us absolutely any day now. So that he can be a guest on one of our shows. I'm absolutely positive.
If he knows what's good for him, he will.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, well, that was a little more threatening than I intended. So I'm not. I don't know that I tie myself to that, Mr. Zahn. If you're listening, that wasn't my intention.
Well, we have an in with him because I didn't know this. He's from Chicago, but he was a Michigan State grad. I did not know that. He has a degree the man has a degree in physics. So how cool is that? So very cool.
He's a cool cat.
Yeah, we had a great time. I went to a lot of booths, got some cool art, but it was more of a smaller presence. There were some celebrities signing and such, but hopefully next year, which is coming back in August of next year, people won't be afraid to go out. People will be fully vaccinated. The world will get back to a place of normality where people will be able to gather as geeks. But it was great to see everybody there, cool cosplay, good panels, people having a good time. So it was great to see this, and hopefully more cons will happen in 2022.
Absolutely. No, look forward to it. Looking forward to it. Well, that is it. It seems like we're about ready to, shimmy through the window in the bathroom, bounce off the dumpster, flag down a gypsy cab, and get the hell out of this terrible neighborhood, leave the Geek Easy behind, get to the airport, so that we can get a flight on Air Australia or Koala Airlines, get down to the Thunderdome so that we can have a little chit-chat about this week's topic. So let's make that happen.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, our topic is a little interesting because I was inspired with all the questions Timothy Zahn got asked about, from the various fans. We had some very serious ones. We had some goofy ones. One was basically like, would General Thrawn be able to beat Boba Fett or Jango Fett or someone else?
Like I said, okay. My interpretation of it, who would win in a fight between Superman and an elephant? And I still don't think we have a good answer.
We do not. But that led me to, like, we've never really considered that for our show. So I thought this was a good way to kick it off. So our question is, what creator or character would you love to meet? What would you do with them? Meaning, would you be at a restaurant? Would you be doing karaoke? And what question or questions would you ask them? So, Andrew, do you have one in mind?
I do, and it's been one that since I was a wee lad, I've always wanted to do. It would be Ray Stantz from Ghostbusters.
Ooh, okay.
I would love to be sitting in Ray's Occult, reading up on all these paranormal books that he has, and just asking him how the technology behind the proton packs, the containment unit, the ghost traps, and how all that was made. I'm so curious behind the technology and kind of how everything kind of sits in there, because they have portable nuclear accelerators on their backs. How do they make that function? Because you kind of see little elements here and there from the movie, but they never actually go into I would love the actual scientific background to it and how they actually got it to work, especially with 80s technology, because that was like 8-bit 8 tracks and cassette tapes. I want to see how they actually got that made.
And we did see in the most recent Afterlife, which I'm assuming you've seen, when his granddaughter was taking the proton pack apart, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like the cyclotron, like seeing that kind of all pop out and everything. I love seeing that. But you still don't see you see little bits and bobs there. But I would just love to kind of sit there and probably not even just talk about that, but more of just the occult and what he's seen and kind of all his experiences, and also too, why the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Like, really, why did that pop in there? I know he says that because it felt safe, but really, why of all the things you would think of when the end of the world is happening is a little puffed marshmallow person?
So I do a follow-up question for you, and I'm going to ask you if you do meet him finally, and assuming he also dabbles in the world of spirits that are drinkable, ask him what got him to make Crystal Head Skull vodka, because once again, intriguing. Charlie and I bring up that topic I think once a quarter, right, Charlie?
I love how I get thrown into this because there's no Dan Aykroyd reference that Todd makes that it does not also involve Crystal Hulk. Oh, I can't even say it. The damn vodka. Amazingly, it didn't show up in the film, but when we had my pal Dan Holleroyd on, who is a paranormal investigator and Ghostbuster cosplay, like one of the biggest ones in the state of Michigan, he had one of them on hand to share. So it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't pull a little thing and just drink a little bit of the Crystal Head vodka, like one of the little shot glasses or something like that. Come on, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't actually, he didn't have, it was actually not filled, he didn't get Egon's skull and filled it with.
Oh my God.
It was too fresh from the kill.
Sorry, old friend.
Is that part of the Indiana Jones fourth movie?
Oh,
we don't talk about that.
Oh God, no, please.
Yeah, have you gone too far?
That's really what it was. That was the crystal skull. Oh my God.
Oh, great question. Love that. So, Ray Stantz, be on the lookout for Mr. Andrew in that question. So we'd love to hear about that. Charlie, you have one yet, or do you need to simmer on it?
I do, and this is one that it's somewhat controversial, but it's potentially not as controversial as if it would be if I would have said the name of the gentleman whose name also gets thrown out there. But I would really like to meet Jon Favreau. I'd like to meet him. He's somebody who is, he's outside. He's not really quote unquote outside of the system. He was an independent film actor, and I'm trying to remember back to Swingers. Was that him and Giant? Well, I know, but I mean, did they both write it? Did one of them direct it? I'm trying to remember the specifics because they clearly both acted in it, and that was his splash. And it was funny because I saw him on. He had a stint on The Sopranos, which was in the early 2000s, and it was like, oh my God, he was young and handsome once. But kicking it off with this was the guy who kicked off the MCU. He directed Iron Man's, I think at least 1 and 2, but was really responsible for shaping really what kind of followed from there. And continue to be involved and again, I'm doing this somewhat off the fly because I just kind of decided this as we were talking. So I don't have his entire resume in front of me, but what he has done for Star Wars, what he did with The Mandalorian is unparalleled, I think. Found a way to make Star Wars edgy again after Star Wars really lost its edge after the prequels, in my opinion. You know what I mean? The Mandalorian, I won't say that they didn't miss a beat. I wouldn't say that they didn't have some really, bland, like, Mandalorian comes to town. I need your help with the thing. Well, I'll help you with the thing. But first, you got to do this thing with me where you'll probably get killed. But if we don't die, then I'm going to help you with your thing. That happened like 5 or 6 times over 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. So, yes. But, my God, I can still watch that show. And again, it's bite-sized. It's 8 episodes, 10 episodes, whatever it is. And I still absolutely love it and find kind of cool new things in it every time I watch it. So I love it. I want to see what this guy does next. He's one of us. He's a geek creator who is on the inside, who took that inside influence and did something great with it and gave us notable movement with bringing Marvel to the big screen in a way that has been enduring and record breaking. And then with The Mandalorian, what he's done with Star Wars. So love to see him dig his teeth into Star Trek. I don't know if he's a Trekker, but I'm just so fired up with what he did with The Mandalorian that I'd love to meet the man, chat him up, go toe to toe with him with the geek stuff and see what see what I could learn from kind of why he did what he did and what his inspiration is and who's his favorite Ewok. I don't know. All kinds of weird questions.
The question for me is, Charlie, what would you do with him? Would you take him to Beer City, USA?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I would take him down to my other favorite Michigan town outside of Detroit of Marshall. I'd take him to Dark Horse. We'd have a couple of pops at the bar, maybe a pizza, and then walk next door and have an ice cream. I don't know, and just be chatting about Star Wars. It would be awesome.
Just to go back, he was the writer on Swingers. Doug Liman directed. Vince Vaughn had nothing to do with it except
just being an actor. Okay, gotcha. All right. So yeah, I love what the guy has done. I would love to see. And then again, he's done other things for Disney. He did The Jungle Book, which was really off of my radar, and other stuff. But again, for Star Wars, again, he gave Star Wars an edge that it had dropped like a hot potato with the prequels, in my opinion. No matter what you think of them, it was not cool unless you were 6, But for us, 40-somethings, I mean, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, is a bamf. I mean, he's a totally awesome cat, and that had everything to do with Favreau. So I would love to learn more about that from him.
I would say he ranks it way up there on the level of actor-directors. There's not a lot of great actor-directors, but we've got, obviously, Clint Eastwood, great actor-director, won Oscars. Robert Redford, same there. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of other great actor-directors out there, and I would say he's one, and he's also continuing to be in things. Now, he's not a great actor, but I think it's the fact that he's had an acting career in various things. He wasn't even on Friends, for God's sake.
I was about to say...
You don't find his portrayal of Happy Hogan, which we'll see again this week in Spider-Man No Way Home, as being compelling and rich?
No, but it just goes to say that it goes to say, though, that you can be someone that just is doing your job, doing a good job. I mean, he's directed some things like Zathura led him to get Iron Man, which is just out of the blue. But I mean, be competent, have an interest, and be know some people, and gotta love that guy. He's fantastic. So I'm going to lean into, in my question, it's going to go to Guillermo Del Toro. Not an actor, but he was in a video game, Death Stranding, which was just, But I mean, talk about a guy who is a geek at heart. He is one of us. He loves video games. He loves comics. He loves horror. He loves everything under the sun. Started out as an indie director in Mexico. And you think of how would you made horror films and made a name for himself. And then his first movie he made, big movie, was Mimic. Just think about that. I mean, Mimic, it was one of those 80s, not so great horror films. And then he went on to Hellboy. And Hellboy? Really? But it just led into his love of horror and comics and that aesthetic that he's known for. And then obviously he goes to then make movies that have more and more I guess you'd say presence and weight. And then he got his Oscar, but he hasn't leaned away from his geek presence. He was just at the Game Awards talking about Silent Hill. So, I mean, he still is in tune with his love and interests. Actually saw a museum studio tour of his of basically all of his possessions. He did a museum tour with all his possessions and his movie work and stuff like that we got to see. It was so fantastic. So I love the guy. He's really a cool guy. He's from Mexico, so he brings his heritage too. He does a lot of foreign language films. So I would want to talk to Guillermo Del Toro. I would have him take me to the coolest hole-in-the-wall place to get awesome tacos. We would just chill out, have some cerveza, tacos, have a good time. You'll
watch out. It'll end up being that place from dusk till dawn.
It probably is with vampires, and we'll get killed. But I mean, I would ask him. I would definitely ask him to say if there was any other geek property beyond Hellboy, because that was his baby, that he would like to develop and do and put his mark on it. I would love to hear it. Obviously, he would love to do something with Silent Hill. That's a little more complex. But I would love to hear what he would like to do in another geek property that he would like to see elevated. I know he wants to do the Mouth of Madness, he wants to do he did Crimson Peak, which he liked there, but he wants to do something with Cthulhu and that type of mythology. But from another lens, I'd like to hear what type of geek mythos he'd like to go after next, because he can do anything he wants. And when you've won an Oscar, the world is your oyster. People love him. He's got a dedicated group of actors, and his movie, I think it's called Midnight Alley, is coming up in the next couple of weeks too. I just love his style, and I just can't wait to see what he does next. So, Guillermo del Toro, join me for tacos, a beer, and tell me your secrets. That's all I ask.
Did you ever hear about his Dark Universe script that he wanted to do
for like the Universal?
No, for DC. So it was supposed to be Constantine, Swamp Thing. What else? It was supposed to be like all those dark characters.
Zatanna, probably Deadman, some of those. Yeah, I'd heard about that and just felt like Guillermo del Toro's name was like on everything, and I'm like, that's a recipe for disaster, right? Because he's only one man, and if his attention's distracted, that probably will lose steam. But yeah, I heard that one. Like, yeah, that would be awesome. And DC's the one studio that I could see doing something so off the cuff that could happen.
Apparently, he pushed for that for a long time until it got to the point where they were like, "This is not going to go anywhere because we don't want to focus. We don't want to be a horror company with our DC characters." And then, of course, they did the Justice League Dark animated movie, which is he said apparently it was elements of what he wanted to do, but it wasn't like the full extent, because apparently like the budget for the Swamp Thing costume was going to be too expensive because, you know, as we saw from the Swamp Thing TV series a couple of years ago, the budget's a problem.
You got to water that turf every day. It's expensive.
Yeah, right.
You need a horticulturist on set.
You got to stand around. There has to be somebody to spritz him between takes.
You don't want to get gnats or moles coming into the set. That would be bad. It would be a disaster for everything. So there you go, folks. That is it for the Thunderdome. If you have a creator or character you'd like to ask questions and just, get that opportunity to have your 3 minutes of fame, let us know. And before we, tell you how you can do that, Andrew, we want to ask you where people can find you around the interwebs.
So you can find me over at We the Nerdy. We're pretty much writing articles every week. It's myself and a couple of my other writers that we're reviewing comic books. We're doing hardware right now. Have a bunch of big things planned for 2022 that we can't talk about just yet, but you guys will see soon. Other than that, you can find me over at Twitter, over at We the Nerdy, and at Semicek. I'm on both accounts. I'm primarily on my own right now, but if you want to tweet at We the Nerdy, by all means do so. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/We the Nerdy. I'm streaming, trying to do weekly again, gaming stuff, variety streamer, just doing whatever I feel like. You can also find me over at TikTok. I do have a TikTok. It is at We the Nerdy.
Oh my goodness. Are you doing dances?
No. I am not.
The kids love that TikTok.
It's the thirst traps is what I do.
They're
mankinis and such, I assume.
I just don't know about that. Oh my goodness. Crazy awesome.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for joining us. This has been a pleasure, and we do other podcasts in the world of geek, so we will hope you would join us on one of those in the future. So once again, thank you.
No problem, guys.
So this has been an awesome episode. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it on the road. But, at this point, Charlie, where can people find you?
Wrap it up. Well, you can find me over on the Facebook, running Todd loves Facebook, running our Secret Friends Unite discussion community since 2013. I do a lot of the content. I'm also over on Twitter at the C3. Spell it out, where I'm doing random retweets and often commentary and trying to meet people. I also run the USS Grand Petoskey, which is the West Michigan chapter of the International Star Trek Fan Club, which has been around since the 70s. We have a website, ussgrandpetoskey.com. We can also be found over on Twitter and Facebook with the same handles. We would love to have you join us to talk about Trek. And that's me. Todd, what about you?
Oh, yes. Well, you can follow me at Twitter at Toxtra for the rantings of an aging geek. It's always entertaining, never disappointing. You may disagree, you may enjoy, but it's never boring. So follow me there and have a good time. So with that, folks, that is it for the show. We had a great time. Charlie, Andrew, as always a good time. So Charlie, with that, take us out.
You got it. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. Keep on trucking.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.